Hey, what's up, you guys? I'm Rick Anthony, and yeah, this is my channel. Uh, I'm gonna be honest with you. This is my first YouTube video. I'm very unexperienced, and so take it easy on me, okay? So I was thinking maybe for a first video that I'd tell you a little bit about myself. Um, First off, surname is Anthony. I'm born and raised in South Africa, Cape Town. I live with my mom and my sister. It is so weird just looking at a camera, just like looking at a camera and just talking. If you had this experience like as a YouTuber or something, you need to tell me about this. Like first time YouTubers tell me, what do I need to do to be better? And if you're a viewer, a potential subscriber, then tell me what I can do to be better. Anyway, so yeah, I'm from Cape Town, born and raised. Well, for a while. Um, I live with my mom and my sister, and my niece, Zia. Um, I don't have a dad, unfortunately. He passed away before I was born. Yeah. If you know anything about South Africa, then you will know that during the 16th century, during colonial times, I'm going that far back, but during colonial times, South Africa was colonized, and then after a bit, colonization led to segregation, and segregation led to apartheid, or as the rest of the world calls it, apartheid. Okay. Anyway, my mom and my dad, like many other people in South Africa, were freedom fighters. Um, my mom was very young at the time, and my dad was kind of in his years. And they met, they really liked each other, and then after a while, they started dating and eventually got married. And during all of that time, apartheid was going on. I'm just calling it apartheid because that's how I pronounce it. But apartheid, it was rough. What it was essentially was separating people because of their race. It was a time where people were not treated as human beings. They weren't given the same rights as others because the color of their skin was different. People were forced to live in different areas. They weren't allowed to use the same facilities. It was truly a dark time of oppression. And my family, my mom and my dad, they were one of the many people in South Africa that fought against it. And because of that, my father was arrested. It led to him being put into Robben Island alongside many other people who were freedom fighters. And eventually, things got better. Kind of in 1993, that is when people that were wrongfully imprisoned on Robben Island because they were freedom fighters, they were free, and that was that long walk to freedom that Nelson Mandela was talking about. And then in 1994, next year, we had our first democratic votes, and that was good. Apartheid was over. Everything that a whole nation had worked to bring to an end was gone, and it took my dad with it. He was somewhat of an old man, and living in those conditions, they weren't good for him. He was set free, and he did get to leave, but he had a bad heart. And so when he went to go visit my mom at her work, he had a heart attack in the escalator. No, sorry, not escalator, escalators. That was movie. It's not elevator. Sorry, he had a heart attack in the elevator, and then my mama found him, and he died in her arms. That was a month before I was born. My mom was 8 months pregnant, and she lost her husband then, and she became a single mother. For a while, it was just me and my mom, and sometimes my auntie Glynis who would help out because my mom had to move around a lot and just follow the work, and sometimes she couldn't take me with, so I'd have to stay with my auntie Glynis for a bit. And then my mom met a guy and she fell in love with him, and they spent a while together, and then they had my sister, and then a few years passed. That's a whole nother story. My amazing sister that I'm talking about, my younger one, Louisa. Yeah, and things were okay for a bit, and then they separated, my mom and her boyfriend at the time, and she found out she had to now raise two kids by herself again. But she managed, because most of my life I have never had a male role model, really. Besides my grandpa, but he lived in Australia, so I didn't get to see him. It was mostly my mom, and she did the best that she could. And I think she did really well, because I'm still alive. Nearly, I'm not going to give my age away, but I'm going to just say nearly 3 decades. So I'm still alive, so that's a good thing. So she did her job. And yeah. So because my mom had to follow work, we moved around a lot. And I was a very shy kid. So I had trouble making friends. I was shy, and I used to be very, very skinny. My knees, my feet, my nose, my ears, they were so big. They had no business being that big. And kids can be mean, so they tease me about it. And then I would kind of pull away from everyone because I was scared of getting bullied again. There was legit a time where a kid tied me up in chains and then padlocked me and told me to stand there. And there was another time where three other boys, one would he would be like the leader of those bullies, and then he asked his friends to hold me down and then just punch me while they were holding me. So I was a very guarded kid. Let this be a lesson. Some public schools you've got to be tough, and I wasn't. I got bullied a lot. And so I would respond by eating my feelings. And that is not a good thing. Don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with having a good appetite, enjoying food, but when you use it to cope with your emotions instead of actually dealing with your emotions, it becomes unhealthy, because you're not talking about your problems, you're not working through them, you're trying to swallow them, you're trying to suffocate them with food. And then I get upset because then I pick up weight. Now, whose fault is that? It's not anyone's fault, really. I mean, it's more my fault for thinking that I could eat instead of just talk about what's going on with myself. But yeah, that happened. And I gained a lot of weight. And that made it hard to make friends again, because then that would be something else for bullies to tease about. And something that I've learned is that bullying, it comes from a place of suffering, from hurt. You don't want to hurt someone if you yourself are feeling good. Bullies are usually bullies because in some part of their life they are confused, they made the victim, and so what they want to do is project their strength into a weaker target to victimize that person, make them feel better about themselves, even if it's for a short period. And that's kind of sad. But at that time, I didn't know that, so I just wanted my bullies to die. Like, who wants to be bullied? No one wants to be bullied. That sucks. So yeah, I'd move a lot. I'd only have like 1 or 2 close friends and stuff. And yeah, I thought it'd be fine until we moved again. Eventually, I got to high school, and I was in a Christian school. I won't give the name of the school, but it wasn't exactly the best situation for me, because there were a lot of bullies and teasing and stuff, and that's generally a time when people are finding themselves and they're getting into puberty, so people can be assholes. New teenagers can be dicks. Just is. But okay. And yeah, they teased me for that crap and all that. Whatever, it's fine. But the situation kind of got worse because I had this one teacher. I think everyone has this one teacher who is a complete dick. There's no need to be such an a-hole, but he was. His nickname for me, because I'm Rick, was Slick Rick, because I had oily skin. Thank you for that. Thank you. I appreciated that. That is exactly what I needed. I was already so self-conscious. I needed you to remind me every day that I had oily, pimply skin. Thank you. Great stuff. And he would even call this one Russian kid that we had. His name was Vladik, so he called him Flat Dick. Not very appropriate for high school students, but okay. Your prerogative. Anyway, I did really shitty in his class because I'm not very good in accounting. That's what he taught. Numbers, just in general, mathematics, I suck so bad at it. And then, so I go into his exam, I write the paper, and I bomb. Like, I know at this point, there's no way I am passing accounting. And I don't know, maybe he went through my paper before I left the class, because at that same, like right after his exam, I had to write another one. I did not have time. Keep in mind, this was another language. I was writing Sesotho. That I only speak English, and that's weird for a guy of this skin tone, because usually in my country, okay, around the world, you're gonna think that this is a racist term, because colored just genuinely doesn't have a good connotation around the world. But here in South Africa, it's a race. It's a race. It actually is. Like, you get black, you get white, and then you get colored. No lies. On my ID it says colored. That's what I am, and I like being colored because that's my identity. But I understand that there's going to be people out there in the world who don't agree with that term, and I apologize for that. But this is what it is, okay? And so I've been raised in a house where we only speak English. So I've never really been good at Afrikaans. I think at a certain age I was, because I had a lot of Afrikaans friends. I lived in Pretoria. Yeah, Pretoria. Yeah, sorry. And there, everyone spoke Afrikaans, and I picked it up really quickly. And then I left, and then I had a lot of English friends, and blah blah blah. So I'm not good at languages, and I had to write a Sesotho, another language, an exam right after accountancy. So I had to rush it. My accounting teacher, let's call him Mr. Bailey for now, he physically comes up to me and says, okay, you did shit in my exam, what's going on? So it goes into an argument, it gets physical, he pushes me up against the wall, I don't like it, I shrug him off, he tries pulling my arm. At this point, you need to know, I'm a 16-year-old who's really big. You mess with me in that way, it's not going to end really well for you. I'm sorry, okay? That's just my self-defense. I push this guy. He is grabbing my shoulders, pushing me up against the wall. I push him off me. I had no idea how strong I was. He had no idea how strong I was. So I push him, and he goes flying like 5 or 6 feet across the quad. And I'm like, oh shit. And rightfully so, because I get called into the principal's office and I get suspended. And in suspension, that turns into an expulsion. It's not my fault. He confronted me. I was defending myself, but you know what? Powers that be decided I was a problem. I had to go. So, fine. At this point, it didn't actually matter that much because I got to finish writing my exams and I passed that year, but I was still expelled, so I couldn't go back to that school. At this point, my mom had gotten a job in Cape Town, at UWC. That's the campus, that's the University of the Western Cape, in the finance department. And so we moved to Cape Town, and we lived with my aunt and my cousin. We still are at the moment. And then I got into another school, which was called Boston Private. That was probably the best thing that could happen for me. Boston Private is a school in Bellville that really respects the kids and tries to nurture their talents and their personality and their differences. And it was a good place for someone like myself who was just struggling to figure things out and who just didn't have a lot of self-confidence. That school really helped me out, so thank you, Boston. And I graduated eventually, and then yeah, I got into UWC by some metric of God. Like, my marks in math and Afrikaans weren't so good, and those are two things that you need to do really well in. So I went into the arts foundation year, and that really helped me out because it showed me that university and high school are so different. They have no business being that different. Like there is no advanced accounting, mathematical, science, psychology, ethic crap going on in high school. When you get here, when you try to write an essay, that's not what they want. They want an academic essay. They want APA referencing, MLA, Harvard, all that. And that stuff you don't really know from high school. In foundation year, they taught me that stuff, and I did really well, and I passed, and then I got to first year. Problem is, I have epilepsy. Epilepsy is a neurological disorder. It's basically when the synapse, your brain is always sending messages through the synapses, through your nervous system, and then what happens is when you have epilepsy, sometimes those messages don't get to the right places, and then your body has like this fit, a seizure, right? A seizure, and you pass out, and it can be bad. It depends on how bad your epilepsy is, what range is. And I have very severe epilepsy. So I was in first year, I was working hard, but the exams, the stress from the exams was a trigger for me, and I had this big fit that had me hospitalized. And then the therapist told me, you know what, I get that you want your degree, but a reality is that you might not be able to. If it's not good for your health, maybe you should just take a break, and then we come back to it. It was supposed to be a year break, and it ended up being a 2-year break. In the second year, we started working things out, and we figured out that maybe I could do my 4-year course a bit longer. What that means is, instead of taking all of my subjects 1 year, what I would do is then just do it over 2 years. Like, I do 2 subjects in 1 year and then do the other 3 in the next year, and then just keep going. Because usually in university you have like a 3 or 4 year program. I don't know if there's a 5-year program, maybe, I don't know. But yeah, and what happens is that you take about 5 modules in the first year, and then it decreases as you go on. Your 3rd year or 4th year is usually your last year, and that's when you major with 2 modules or 3 modules, depending. Yeah, and so far I've been doing okay. There's been a lot of things that have changed for me in the year 2019. I've always wanted to have a YouTube channel, but I was scared. I'm not gonna lie to you. It's not easy just making a video and then posting it, because then that's up there for the whole world to see. And what if the whole world doesn't like you? Because I've read comments on other YouTuber stuff. That's harsh. But I've decided that I'm done making excuses, putting it off. Really, all I need to do is just make the video and just see what comes from it. That's all you can do in life, is take the chance. If you don't try, you're gonna live with regrets, and that's not what anyone wants. So I'm gonna probably run out of time because my battery is dying, so I'm gonna leave it at that. And just say thank you for watching my video. If you liked it, please subscribe, like, and comment, and all that good stuff. And thank you. So yeah, bye.